Later that night, Jiwoo and Hana stood on the hospital's rooftop, the city glittering behind them. Cold wind pressed against them, but his arms wrapped around her, warming the chill. "They'll try again," she whispered, "to tear us apart." He kissed her temple. "Let them. I already chose you." She turned to look at him, her voice soft but strong. "Then let's build something they can't tear down." Their fingers intertwined. And this time, there was no one watching. Just the city and the sky, and the steady rhythm of two hearts that refused to break. The hallway was unusually quiet that morning, too quiet for a hospital, especially one as busy as Kang Medical Center. But perhaps it was Hana's own nervous heartbeat that drowned out the usual bustle. She stood in front of the glass doors labeled Cardiothoracic Surgery Division. The etched letters glinted under the overhead lights, almost daring her to step in. Hana inhaled slowly, smoothing the lapels of her coat. A white coat she had worked years for. One she had worn through sleepless shifts, public scrutiny, and more recently, humiliation at the hands of her seniors. But this morning, it felt like armor. As she pushed the door open, a wave of sterilized air greeted her, along with a few cautious glances. The department was larger, with newer equipment, and the air was noticeably less tense than her previous station. She took in the sight of nurses reviewing charts, a junior doctor guiding a new intern, and a tall man with silver-rimmed glasses standing at the head of the corridor. He turned toward her. "You must be Dr. Seo," he said, offering a firm handshake. "I'm Dr. Bae Jungwoo, head of the department. Welcome." "Thank you, Dr. Bae. I look forward to learning from your team." He nodded, his expression unreadable but not unkind. "I've reviewed your work from the emergency surgery 2 months ago at the teaching hospital. Impressive technique under pressure." "Ah, thank you, sir." Hana was guided to her new desk, and as she settled in, she noticed small acts of kindness that quietly chipped away at her guardedness. A nurse slipped her a cup of honey lemon tea. A fellow resident leaned over to whisper, "Your case notes are ridiculously thorough. I'm low-key excited you're here." There were still a few sidelong glances, a hushed murmur when she walked by, but this wasn't like before. No one muttered things behind her back loud enough for her to hear. No snide comments from authority figures. No Dr. Ho Minho lurking with fake smiles and venom-laced jabs. This was different. And different, she could work with. 3:00 p.m., Staff Lounge. The phone buzzed in her coat pocket. Hana pulled it out and smiled when she saw the name. "Uma calling." She stepped into the lounge, letting the door fall shut behind her. "Uma, baby," came her mother's voice, vibrant and urgent. "I just saw the most ridiculous headline. Something about you and some scandal again. Are you okay?" "Uma, I'm fine, really. I swear if I ever meet that Dr. Ho Minho, it's not him this time." The media caught a photo of Jiwoo and me. We were holding hands. It blew up. There was silence on the line. Then, softly, "You and Jiwoo? You're serious?" A pause. "Yes," Hana said. "Very. He stood by me through everything, even the hospital board. He's someone I can trust." A long breath on the other end. "Then I want to meet him." "Really?" "Yes. But first I'm coming to Seoul. I'll cook. I'll bring kimchi. I need to see your face. I'll bring the old electric blanket too." Hana laughed, heart easing. "Okay, come, I'd love that." Same time, across town at Kang Group HQ. Jiwoo Kang's voice was calm, precise, and commanding. He sat at the head of the boardroom, facing multiple screens with international executives tuned in from Berlin, Zurich, and Tokyo. The German pharmaceutical partners were the tensest of the lot. "I understand your concerns," Jiwoo said, switching fluidly to German. "But the media does not determine the quality of our research nor the professionalism of our partnerships." One executive, stern and silver-haired, narrowed his eyes. "The photos. Your personal life. It reflects on the family's brand." Jiwoo didn't flinch. "I'm a single man in a committed relationship with a respected surgeon. I'm proud of that. There is nothing to hide and certainly nothing shameful." A few murmurs. "We've moved Dr. Seo to a department where her work can continue without distraction, Jiwoo continued. Our clinical trial reports are ahead of schedule. I'll personally fly to Berlin if you need additional reassurance. After a tense pause, the German executive finally gave a small nod. Very well, Director Kang. We proceed. The call ended, the deal held. Jiwoo let out a long, steady breath. A moment later, he picked up his phone and typed a message. Free tonight? There's someone I want you to meet. That evening at Seoul's Samgyeongdong district. The restaurant was warm, minimalist, and tucked away behind tall pine trees. Jiwoo stood at the entrance waiting. When Hana arrived, he couldn't help the smile that took over his face. She wore a simple yellow sundress and soft curls tucked behind her ear. You look beautiful, he murmured, taking her coat. He led her to a private dining room, where an elegant woman sat sipping green tea. She looked up and smiled gently. Hana, Jiwoo said. This is my aunt, my mother's sister. She's the chairwoman of the Kang Foundation. Chairwoman No rose to greet her, offering her hand. I've been following your career. I admire your poise, Dr. Seo. Hana bowed deeply. It's an honor, Chairwoman Nim. Thank you for welcoming me. Dinner unfolded over quiet laughter and sharp observations. The chairwoman asked about Hana's early medical days, her ambitions, and even her cooking skills. At one point, she leaned toward her nephew with a sly smile. She's far too good for you. Jiwoo smiled back, unfazed. I know. Next morning at Hana's apartment. The clatter of pots pulled Hana from sleep. She sat up, blinking against the morning light. The unmistakable scent of doenjang jjigae wafted into the room. She padded to the kitchen in slippers to find her mother, Se Yoonhee, humming to herself as she stirred a pot on the stove. Her face warm and content. Uma! Yoonhee turned, eyes lighting up. She crossed the kitchen and enveloped Hana in a warm, tight hug. I had to see you for myself. They sat down to a breakfast of warm stew, rolled egg omelets, and freshly packed kimchi. The TV played softly in the background, but their conversation filled the room. He's serious about you, Yoonhee said after a while, sipping her tea. He introduced me to his aunt. That says a lot. I like that he stood by you, even when it wasn't convenient. Hana looked down, a small smile tugging at her lips. He makes it easy to believe I deserve this. You do, her mother said firmly, brushing a thumb over her hand. You always did. Across town, Jiwoo closed a final portfolio and slid it across the table toward his father, who had silently observed his son's week-long maneuvers with skeptical eyes. The German deal is sealed. The Tokyo lab funding is confirmed, all without retracting a single truth about who I am or who I'm with, Jiwoo said. Chairman Kang leaned back. You're more stubborn than I gave you credit for. I learned from the best, Jiwoo replied. As he stood to leave, he paused at the door. She's not a scandal. She's the woman I want in my life. The world can adjust. The hum in the hospital was different today, like something bright had quietly cracked through the ceiling tiles and found its way into the halls. A major medical journal had just published a feature titled Grace Under Fire, Young Innovators in Trauma Medicine, and there, on page 3, was Dr. Hana Seo. The photo captured her in mid-suture, her brows furrowed in concentration, face partly shadowed by a surgical lamp. The article praised her technical brilliance, emotional intelligence, and fearless composure during mass casualty incidents. By the time Hana reached her department, several nurses were already reading aloud from the article. One of them beamed. Dr. Seo! You didn't tell us you were famous. Another whispered. This makes us look good too. Even the quiet and notoriously strict Professor Byun offered a brief nod. Well written, and well deserved. It was the most genuine compliment Hana had ever received from a senior. She smiled, humbled and touched. For the first time in weeks, she walked the corridors without a shadow clinging to her heels. After her shift, Hana was still mentally buzzing when she spotted Jiwoo leaning against his car in the parking lot. He held 2 iced lattes. You know, stalking me in daylight makes it less romantic, she teased, walking toward him. He handed her a drink. I'm reclaiming my title, #1 fanboy. They drove in comfortable silence to a quiet rooftop cafe Jiwoo had discovered, high above the city's noise. As the sun dipped behind the skyline, he passed her a wrapped envelope. She raised a brow. "Is this a lawsuit?" "Worse," he said. "An invitation." Inside was a sleek cream-colored card, Korean Heart Health Initiative Annual Gala, featuring keynote Dr. Hana Jiwoo. Her eyes widened. "I'm speaking at this? I may have put in a good word." "You deserve to be heard." She was speechless. "This isn't just about proving anyone wrong," he said gently. "It's about stepping into every room like you belong there because you do." Her chest tightened. Not with nerves, with something achingly warm. Meanwhile, at Kang Group headquarters, Jiwoo's days were anything but peaceful. Another German client, long known for their conservative values, had grown nervous after the tabloid scandal. But Jiwoo had anticipated it. He'd flown out a liaison team, held remote calls with their board, and personally addressed the media again, not to defend himself, but to reframe the narrative. "I have nothing to hide," he'd said, voice calm and direct. "I'm a single man in a committed relationship with a woman of integrity and purpose. I don't apologize for being human." By the end of the week, the German CEO's wife had sent a handwritten note to Hana, praising her compassion during a medical mission. The deal was not only saved, it was expanded. Chairman Kang eyed Jiwoo in a private meeting, steepling his fingers. "You've impressed even your critics." Jiwoo nodded. "And I'm not done yet." His father gave no further praise, but there was something quieter in his gaze. Almost reluctant respect. At Hana's apartment later that weekend, the scent of sesame oil and spring onion wafted through the air. Seo Yoonhee, Hana's mother, had surprised her with a visit and immediately taken over the kitchen. Jiwoo arrived with fresh strawberries and tulips in hand. "Trying to impress me now?" Yoonhee quipped, half smiling as she chopped garlic. "I respect traditions," Jiwoo replied smoothly. "Especially future in-laws." Hana nearly choked on her tea. After dinner, the three of them sipped yujacha around the low table. Her mother's laughter filled the room more freely than usual. Later, when Hana stepped out to take a work call, Yoonhee looked at Jiwoo thoughtfully. "She was always strong," Yoonhee said softly. "Even when people whispered, even after her father was gone. She never asked why Eve had to be harder for us." "I know," Jiwoo replied. "She inspires me." Yoonhee nodded. "Then love her with that strength, no less." As Hana walked Jiwoo to the door that night, the city lights framed his face like something out of a dream. "You've made the chaos quiet," she said. He tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "You're the calm in mine." She stepped closer, gently resting her forehead against his. "Don't fall in love with me because I'm impressive in scrubs," she whispered. He smiled. "Too late. I already love you when you're grumpy at 5 a.m., or sleepy and makeup-free, or halfway through a lecture about blood volume." She laughed. "You love my blood volume lectures? I'd listen to you talk about hemoglobin for the rest of my life." They kissed under the glow of the hallway light, the kind of kiss that felt like home and hope and everything after. The evening of the Korean Heart Health Initiative Gala arrived with a chill in the air, as if spring were holding its breath. Hana stood in front of her bedroom mirror, adjusting the delicate clasp of her pearl earrings. Her hair was swept into a soft bun, loose tendrils framing her face. The navy blue evening dress Jiwoo had helped her choose last week fit her like confidence. Not flashy, just quietly commanding. Her phone buzzed with a message from Jiwoo. "Car's waiting downstairs. You ready to steal the night?" She smiled, typed back quickly. "Only if you're wearing that gray suit I love." Downstairs, a sleek black car pulled up in front of her building. Jiwoo stepped out before the driver could, buttoning his jacket. The moment he saw her walking toward him, he froze, then let out a low whistle. "You can't walk into a room like that and expect people to function normally." Hana rolled her eyes, but the color in her cheeks betrayed her. In the car, he reached over and held her hand. "Tonight's not just about a speech. It's about everything you've overcome." "I'm not good with crowds," she murmured. "You were born for this stage, and I'll be front row." The Grand Conrad Hotel ballroom was a glass and crystal marvel. Cameras flashed as top surgeons, policymakers, international delegates, and media figures mingled beneath cascading chandeliers. The event host announced speakers one by one. Renowned professors and heart surgeons took the stage, greeted with polite applause. Then, and now, a young doctor whose calm leadership during a major trauma incident inspired a generation of emergency physicians. Please welcome Dr. Hana Jiwoo stood first. Others followed. Hana stepped onto the stage to thunderous applause. She took a breath and began. When I was 9, my mother fainted in a crowded supermarket. People stared, but no one helped. I remember kneeling beside her, too young to understand why she'd collapsed, and too small to carry her. A passing nurse recognized the signs of exhaustion and iron deficiency, and acted. That woman saved my mother's life. She probably doesn't remember. But I do. I became a doctor because I wanted to be that person. The one who sees what others overlook. The one who acts. Tonight, I'm honored to speak not because I've figured everything out, but because I've learned how powerful it is to care, even when no one's watching. By the time she stepped down, several guests were discreetly wiping their eyes. Jiwoo met her backstage, his eyes shining. You were everything, she smiled nervously. Did I ramble? He kissed her forehead. You shook the room. Later, on the outdoor terrace lit by golden lanterns, Hana wrapped a shawl around her shoulders. Jiwoo joined her, holding 2 flutes of champagne. You handled yourself like a queen tonight. You mean a nervous wreck with mascara anxiety? He chuckled. No one saw that part. Just then an older gentleman approached, silver-haired, elegant, and flanked by 2 aides. Jiwoo straightened. Dr. Seo, I'd like you to meet someone. This is Chairman Hannes Lichtenberg. He oversees one of Europe's largest hospital networks, and he personally requested to speak with you after your article and tonight's speech. Hana's mouth parted slightly in shock. Dr. Seo, Lichtenberg said with a warm smile and thick accent. You speak not just to science but to humanity. That is rare. They conversed for several minutes. He asked about her research interests, her emergency care philosophy, and even invited her to a medical summit in Vienna later that year. When he left, Jiwoo leaned closer. Just so you know, he said softly, introducing you to him was a big deal. I've worked on that relationship for long. She looked up at him, moved beyond words. Why me? She whispered. Jiwoo brushed his thumb over her knuckles. Because when I look at you, I see the future. Not just mine, everyone's. And I want the world to see it too. She stared at him, heart thudding. Are you trying to make me cry in public? Maybe just a little, he grinned. That night, as he dropped her home, Jiwoo didn't ask to come up. He held her hand at the door and leaned in slowly. I know I said I wouldn't rush anything, he said, his voice low. But just so you know, her breath caught. She swallowed hard, then kissed him, a kiss that said thank you, I see you, and maybe not that long. The morning sun painted soft amber across the hospital's glass panels as Hana walked into her new department. There was a sense of purpose in her stride, not hurried, but steady. A few nurses waved at her. A junior resident whispered, That's Dr. Seo, as she passed. It felt good, not flashy or perfect, but earned. Dr. Yen, her new department head, greeted her warmly. Dr. Seo, I heard from the trauma conference board they were impressed with your keynote. You've put us on the map. Later that afternoon, between consults and emergency reviews, 2 emails landed in her inbox. Her breath caught as she read them. One from the Vienna Cardio Emergency Institute, offering a 6-month visiting fellowship and keynote slot at their prestigious summit. The second from Cedar Heights Medical Group in Boston, inviting her to co-lead a trauma research initiative in collaboration with several U.S. hospitals. She sat in silence, heart pounding. That night, at Jiwoo's place, she showed him the emails over takeout. He leaned back, absorbing the news. This is huge! 2 world-class institutions basically offering you a red carpet. She watched his face closely. You're not surprised. I'm proud, he said, meeting her eyes. You've worked for this. It makes sense the world is noticing. She looked down. I don't know what to do. If I go, I leave everything behind. If you stay, Jiwoo said gently, don't do it for me. Not unless you truly want to. She reached for his hand. I want both, you and this. But not if it means watching us stretch thin and burn out. Jiwoo was quiet for a long moment. I'm not going anywhere, he finally said. If you want to take one of them, we'll figure it out. I'll visit, we'll call, we'll plan. This won't break us unless we let it. She smiled faintly, her heart aching in a good way. It means a lot that you're not trying to hold me back. He kissed the back of her hand. You're not someone who needs permission, but I'll always be in your corner. Alone in her apartment, Hana sat by the window with the printed fellowship letters in her lap, fingers tracing the embossed headers like they held answers. Vienna, Boston, prestige, exposure, mentorship. She could almost see the headlines, and yet, a quiet voice in her asked, at what cost? Jiwoo had said he'd support her, but she knew the time zones, the absence, the silences between calls, they'd be real. Her mother, growing older, was still so much of her world. Could she stomach months away, missing family dinners and the softness of home? And more than anything, she asked herself the question no one else could. Do I need to leave to become the doctor I want to be? She had already started breaking ground here, earning respect, publishing work, saving lives. Skill was not a place. It was discipline, intention, resilience. With a deep breath, Hana folded the letters neatly and tucked them back into their envelopes. She didn't feel like she was walking away. She felt like she was staying for the right reasons. A week later, Hana turned both offers down. In a recorded segment for a medical journal's Women in Leadership series, she said, "Success isn't always about going farther. Sometimes it's about going deeper, building where your roots are, not just chasing the next high point. I'm not choosing comfort, I'm choosing clarity, and I have clarity now." The video gained traction. Her former critics turned quiet. Her mother, Seo Yoonhee, beamed as she watched from home. One cozy Sunday, Yoonhee visited Hana's apartment bearing homemade seaweed soup and bags of groceries. Jiwoo, in his casual hoodie and socks, helped unload the bags while bowing. "Yeomyeoni-nim, welcome. I've been waiting for this famous myeokguk." Yoonhee laughed, clearly warming to him more and more. Over lunch, she asked quietly, "Are you truly happy, my daughter?" Hana nodded. "I am, Mom, very." After dessert, while Jiwoo took a call, Yoonhee leaned closer. "He loves you. I can see it in the way he looks at you when you're not paying attention." Hana blinked, heart fluttering. She felt his love in everything he did, every single day, and her love for him was something words could never fully hold. It was as if he had become the rhythm of her heart. Jiwoo was at Kang HQ after just returning from meeting with some German executives in Frankfurt, giving a detailed presentation and reaffirming the stability and values of Kang Medical. Now he could finally leave all the so-called bad press behind both for himself and for Hana. When he now returned to Seoul, his father waited in his office, a rare smile touching his lips. "Good work," Chairman Kang said, then added, "She turned the offers down." Jiwoo nodded. His father didn't respond for a long time, then murmured, "She's not chasing lights, she's choosing a life." It wasn't approval, not quite, but it was the closest Jiwoo had heard. That weekend, Jiwoo invited Hana to a private garden dinner at his parents' countryside estate. Not to meet his parents, but to meet someone else important, his grandmother. The elegant elder, silver hair in a bun, was known for her sharp mind and subtle but strong influence in the family. She held Hana's hand and said, "You're not afraid of storms, are you?" "No, Halmione," Hana said softly. "I've walked through too many to fear them now." The old woman smiled. "Good, then you'll do just fine here." Later, after they left, Jiwoo whispered, "She's never said that to anyone before." Hana leaned her head on his shoulder. "What does that mean?" "That she sees you," he said. "Really sees you." A few weeks later, even though Hana didn't know exactly why, Jiwoo had arranged everything that day, booking her a full spa session, complete with a massage, facial, and professional makeup. He even sent a stylist with a rack of elegant outfits to give her a full makeover. As she looked in the mirror afterward, Hana barely recognized herself, stunned by the elegant woman staring back. The night was calm and perfect, the moon hanging low above Seoul's skyline, casting a gentle glow on the terrace of the exclusive hotel where Jiwoo had planned everything. She had always known Jiwoo loved her. He had said it countless times, in both simple and grand gestures, in quiet whispers late at night, and in bold declarations in front of friends and family. But tonight, as she stood before him, dressed in a soft red dress that caught the light from the chandeliers, his words still took her breath away. When he dropped to one knee, a sudden wave of emotion swept through her. "Hana," Jiwoo began, his voice steady, yet tinged with vulnerability. "I've built many things in my life, from business ventures to deals that changed the course of my career. But what I've built with you, this life we've created together, is the most precious thing I will ever have. You make me believe in love, in things bigger than just success. I want to build more with you, to spend the rest of my life with you. Hana, will you marry me?" Her heart swelled with emotion, her eyes beginning to fill with tears. This moment felt like a culmination of everything they had been through. He had already proven his love time and time again, but this was a promise that no matter what, they were in this together. "Jiwoo," she whispered, her voice catching in her throat. "I've always loved you, but to hear you say this—" She stopped, wiping away a tear. Yes, I'll marry you." Jiwoo's face broke into a grin, a combination of relief and joy. He slid the ring onto her finger, and as he kissed her softly, she felt the world around them vanish. Just then, they heard the sound of clapping, and they turned to find her mother, Se Yoonhee, stepping from the shadows of the terrace, her eyes sparkling with emotion. "Mom!" Hana gasped, taking a few steps toward her. "I couldn't miss this moment," Yoonhee said, enveloping both of them in a warm hug. "I'm so proud of you, my dear." Jiwoo smiled at her, giving her a respectful nod. "Thank you, Mrs. Seo. It means the world to us both that you're here." "I've always known you were the right man for her," Yoonhee said, her voice full of warmth. "You've treated her like a queen, and now you'll continue to." Hana and Jiwoo exchanged a look, grateful for her support. With everything that had happened in the past few months, her approval was a cherished affirmation. The wedding. The morning of the wedding was filled with anticipation. Hana stood before the mirror in her bridal suite, adjusting her veil as she gazed at her reflection. She couldn't believe how far she'd come. From the first time she met Jiwoo, their journey had been anything but ordinary, yet it had led her here standing on the cusp of a new life, ready to say "I do" to the man she loved. Her mother, who had been her rock through every high and low, stood beside her, holding back tears. "You look stunning, my love," Yoonhee whispered, brushing a tear from Hana's cheek. "I'm so happy for you. I know this is right." Hana smiled, touched by the sincerity in her mother's voice. "Thank you, Mom. I wouldn't be here without you." Meanwhile, Jiwoo stood at the altar, his heart pounding in his chest. He could hardly believe that this moment had arrived. Hana, the love of his life, the woman who had transformed his world, was walking toward him. He had faced countless challenges, but standing there, waiting for her, felt like the most important thing he had ever done. When Hana entered the church, wearing a breathtaking gown of ivory lace and silk, the world seemed to stop for a moment. His heart skipped a beat, his eyes drinking in the sight of her. She had always been beautiful, but now today she was radiant, the light of the room focused entirely on her. Hana's eyes met his, and the connection between them was instantaneous. She smiled, a soft, content smile that spoke of the trust and love that had blossomed between them. The ceremony itself was intimate, but grand, held at a quaint chapel overlooking the hills of Seoul, surrounded by lush greenery and flowers in full bloom. Their closest family and friends had gathered to witness the vows they had been anticipating for so long. Jiwoo's parents were there, of course, now fully supportive of their union. Hana's mother was at her side, beaming with pride. His aunt, an elegant woman who had always been close to Jiwoo, sat in the front row, along with his grandmother, who had insisted on attending despite her age. The vows they exchanged were simple yet deeply heartfelt. Jiwoo promised to stand by her through all of life's challenges, to build a future together, no matter the obstacles. Hana, in turn, promised to love him unconditionally, to support his dreams, and to never stop believing in the life they were creating. When they were pronounced husband and wife, the chapel erupted into applause. Jiwoo took Hana's hand and kissed her, sealing their commitment with a moment of pure love. 3 years later, life had unfolded beautifully in the 3 years since their wedding. Jiwoo's career as CEO of Kang Medical Group had soared, and his reputation as a compassionate, skilled leader had only strengthened with time. Their expansion into Germany had been a particularly challenging yet rewarding project, with Jiwoo navigating cultural differences and building strong relationships with international clients. His success was a source of pride, not just for him, but for their family. At the same time, Hana had flourished in her own career, working as the head of her department at the Kang prestigious hospital. She balanced the demands of her job with the joys of motherhood, always finding ways to be there for Minjun, their now 2-year-old son. Her dedication to her profession never wavered, and Jiwoo had always been supportive of her desire to grow, just as he had supported her when she had turned down career opportunities that required long distance. One weekend, while Hana was organizing paperwork at home, her phone buzzed. She smiled when she saw the caller ID. "Mom," she answered cheerfully. "Sweetheart, I'm so proud of you," Yoonhee said, her voice full of emotion. "I've been watching you juggle everything: your work, your son, your love, and you make it all look so easy. You're an amazing woman, Hana." "Thank you, Mom. I've had help. Jiwoo has been my biggest supporter, and Minjun keeps me grounded," Hana replied, glancing over at Jiwoo, who was playing with Minjun on the living room floor. "Speaking of help," Yoonhee said, her tone brightening, "we'll be over on Sunday just to spoil you both a little. I miss my grandson." Her mother had remarried a year ago, and Hana was thankful she found such a good man and was no longer alone. Hana smiled at the thought. "We can't wait to see you." That weekend, her mother and stepdad came by with a basket of treats and stories to tell, joining them for dinner as they reminisced about the early days of their relationship, laughing together at the obstacles they had overcome. They shared love and support, and in that moment, Hana knew how lucky she was to have such a close-knit family. Later that day, Jiwoo received a phone call from his parents, confirming that they would be bringing Minjun over the following weekend for a visit. His father, who had once been so skeptical, now spoke with warmth and quiet pride. "We're so proud of the family you've built, Jiwoo. I'm looking forward to seeing my grandson again." Jiwoo's eyes softened as he ended the call. He turned toward Hana, who was folding Minjun's little sweater on the couch. Crossing the room, he kissed her forehead gently and murmured, "You know, I think my parents are officially Team Hana." Hana chuckled, her eyes meeting his with playful affection. "Well, I did win over your mom with my kimchi stew and unstoppable charm." Jiwoo laughed, but the truth was deeper than her teasing. His mother, who had once offered nothing more than polite distance, now hugged Hana tightly when they met, called to ask about her health, and even sent homemade side dishes, just in case Hana was too tired to cook after work. His mother had cried when Minjun was born, overwhelmed with joy. She couldn't stop telling anyone who would listen how much the baby looked just like Jiwoo did at that age, even pulling out old photos to prove it. Now, as Minjun grew, she delighted in every little similarity: his smile, the way he furrowed his brow in concentration, even his laugh. She kept a room just for him in their house, filled with toys, picture books, and baby clothes just in case he sleeps over. She had started referring to Hana as "our daughter" instead of Jiwoo's wife, and the shift hadn't gone unnoticed. "She asked for your skincare routine last week," Jiwoo added with mock seriousness. "I think you've officially passed every Korean mother-in-law test." Hana smiled and her heart felt full. Not because of approval or validation, but because real love had found a way to soften even the hardest parts of their journey. That evening, as they curled up on the couch with Minjun nestled between them, Hana thought about everything that had brought them here. The late nights, the hard conversations, the hesitant beginnings. The proposal under quiet city lights. The wedding surrounded by laughter and second chances. And now, this life, this family. Their son's tiny fingers grasped hers in his sleep, and Jiwoo gently pulled a blanket over them all. They hadn't just found each other. They had created a world where love, truth, and forgiveness lived in the quietest of moments. And in that soft, golden hush, Hana knew, this is home. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey of Jiwoo and Hana, and the love that blossomed through challenges, support, and growth. If you've enjoyed their story and want to see more tales of love, growth, and the beautiful journey of life, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming content. We'll be back with more stories that touch the heart and inspire the soul. Don't forget to like, comment, and share with those who love a good love story. Thank you again for your support. We can't wait to share more with you.